First things first, any respectable sourdough starts with a homegrown sourdough starter. Following that, all you'll need will be salt, instant rise yeast, and some sort of all-purpose flour, typically an unbleached. Step 1 in activating your yeast is to collect 3/4 of a cup of warm water. I don't have a thermometer, so I'm just feeling it out right now. Place that water in a larger bowl and add between 1 and 2 teaspoons of your fast rise yeast, depending on the healthiness of your starter. My starter is a little under the weather after not currently getting enough attention while moving from house to house. However, to this mixture, you're going to add 1/2 cup of your starter and stir until well combined. Set that mixture aside for about 10 minutes to give that yeast a little bit of time to wake up, and in the meantime, we're going to start incorporating our dry ingredients in a separate bowl. For this recipe from King Arthur flour, you're going to need about 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Add just a pinch of salt, mix together, and then about 10 minutes later, once your yeast is activated, add the wet ingredients to the dry and mix thoroughly. Start by tossing the mixture with a silicone spatula and folding pieces of the dough in on itself. As it begins to hydrate and a shaggy ball appears, drop the contents of the bowl onto a lightly floured surface. Lie to yourself saying that you enjoy kneading dough when really you don't have the money for a stand mixer. Continuously fold the dough onto itself for about 10 minutes until it becomes soft and pliable. If needed, add small amounts of water or flour to adjust the consistency of the dough. Roll the hydrated dough over the surface to create a smooth ball, occasionally picking it up and stretching it outwards as you push your fingers into the center. So now, after breaking a sweat from kneading the dough for about 10 minutes, collect it into a ball and place it into a lightly oiled bowl for its first proofing. For this, you'll want to get a clean rag, nice, warm, and damp, and you'll drape it over the bowl to make a warm environment for the wild and domesticated yeast. For a simple way to enhance the first proof, place the bowl in the oven and allow the oven light to remain on, leaving the temperature relatively constant and warm throughout the proof. After roughly 1 hour has passed, retrieve your bowl from the oven and degas the dough. Press, crush, and fold the dough back into its original ball in preparation for the final proof. This time around, you'll want to proof in whatever shape you want your final loaf to take on. I'm going for a rustic, half-dome style loaf, which means I'll be proofing in my Dutch oven. Lightly flour the bottom of the baking vessel and your dough, drop the ball in, and sprinkle a handful of flour on top. To help with your dough rise, use your hand to spritz an additional bit of warm water before draping your warm, damp rag over top. Back in the oven for about an hour or so, or until doubled in size. Once removed, and with your oven now preheated to about 450 degrees Fahrenheit, give your dough one last courtesy spritz, place the lid on, and drop her in for about 12 to 15 minutes. "15 minutes later, place your Dutch oven on the stove and nearly momentarily forget that hot stuff burns. Remember that you're smarter than that and use a heating pad to remove the lid. Back in the oven, uncovered for an additional 10 minutes in the efforts of achieving a nice golden brown crust for your loaf. Once you're nearly there, switch your oven over to a broil setting on high. Now whatever you do, do not forget that you are broiling, or be like me and somehow magically remember in the nick of time. Place your loaf on a cutting board or a wire rack if you have one, and allow to cool for about 10 minutes. Once fully cooled, slice and serve. My loaf is a little under-risen, which means I overestimated the health of my starter. In the future, err on the heavier side in terms of the amount of fast-rise yeast added to the mixture.